Hi, this is Miss Fazone. This is solving quadratic equations, and we're going to be doing that by factoring today. Okay. Let's start with what is a quadratic. Right? The sad thing with quadratic is the word quad makes us think of something to do with 4. It actually just has to do with the trinomial. So something written as ax squared plus bx plus c, where a, b, and c are numbers. Real numbers are real numbers. And a cannot equal 0. Because if a equals 0, the x squared goes away. It's no longer an x squared problem. Right? So that's a quadratic. So again, it says quad, but it's only 3. Highest term is a 2. Right? What is a quadratic equation? Just turn that ax squared plus bx plus c into an equal sign. Have an equal sign. Equals 0. Now that equals 0 is a very, very important. If you don't have an equals 0, you're going to have issue solving. Okay, so we always want to make it equal 0 if it's not. All right. So some examples of quadratic equations. X squared plus x plus 2 equals 0. This, while it doesn't equal 0, you can move that 6 over to make it 0. Right? So notice the highest power is a 2. You always have a 2 when you have a quadratic equation. Okay? All right. If a times b equals 0, what do we know about a and or b? Right? So think about this. If a times b equals 0, what must be true? Either a equals 0 or b equals 0. Right? One of them has to equal 0. Otherwise, can 2 times 3 equal 0? No. The only way for two things to multiply and equal 0 is if one of them is 0. Okay? When two things multiply to 0, one of them must be 0. That's called the 0 property. Okay? All right, so let's solve a quadratic equation. Right? So x squared plus 6x plus 8 equals 0. So think about, what do you know how to do to this equation? All right, forget the equal 0 for a second. What have we learned how to do? Factor. That's a trinomial. What kind of factoring is it? It's your MC chart. What multiplies to 8 and combines to 6? Well, 1 times 8, 2 times 4. We add across. So your 2 and your 4. So this is x plus 2 times x plus 4. But now we have this equals 0. So this, so far, this is what we've done. We've done all this before. But now they're multiplying and equaling 0. What did we just say? When two things multiply and equal 0, what must be true? One of them has to equal 0. So x plus 2 equals 0, or x plus 4 equals 0. So we create these two equations, set both of them equal to 0, and solve. Minus 2, x equals negative 2, minus 4, x equals negative 4. How many answers are there? There's 2 answers. And x squared has 2 answers. And, oopsies, that'd be helpful if it was straight. Right, that's it. So what did we do in this problem? We factored. We set both our terms equal to 0, and we solved. So steps to solve a quadratic equation. Factor the quadratic. Set each term equal to 0, the term whatever's in the parentheses, and then solve the equation. All right, number 2, same idea. Factor it. So start by factoring it, do it on your own. Pause the video and factor it. All right, so we're multiplying to negative 72 and combining to 6. 1 times 72, 2 times 36, 3 times 24, 4 times 18, 6 times 12, and 8 times 9. Now we're multiplying to a negative, so one of them has to be negative. Add across. 34, 21, 14, 6, and 1. So which one gave you 6? So that's what goes in the parentheses. X minus 6, x plus 12 equals 0. So this we've done. That's review. Now how do we actually solve the equation? Because remember, we're solving it. Where they're multiplying, we're going to draw a line. When two things multiply to 0, one of them must equal 0. So set them both equal to 0 and solve the equation. X minus 6 equals 0. The inverse of minus is plus, so we add 6 to both sides. X equals 6. Inverse of addition is subtraction. Minus 12. And those are your two solutions. Done. Okay? Number 3. How about this one? So what was, now is this one the same as the others? It's the same idea, slightly different. So what was our first step? What was step 1? Look back in your notes. Factor the quadratic. So we're factoring. If the equal 0 confuses you, rewrite it when you're factoring without the 0. That might help. Sometimes the 0 confuses students. Okay, so how do you factor this? Is this an MC chart? No, it's not, because it's only a binomial, and there's a number in front of x. So what factoring method is this? This is your GCF. What's the GCF here? 6, just 6? X. Remember, 6 goes into 6 and 12. What's smaller, x squared or x? X. So we divide. 6's cancel. We get x minus 2, parentheses 6x. And then we can put our equal 0 back in. Right? Now, remember the 0 property. Two things are multiplying. Where's the multiplication happening? It's right at the parentheses.